this call with me. Really, really appreciate it. And I really want to thank everybody for coming. Denise, I may be the only person I'm unfamiliar with. Where are you from?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm Youngstown. Sorry.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you for being here. And I just see Stephanie. Hi, I'm Lisi. Thank you for joining us. And Annie, thank you for joining us. I'm Lisi. So I'm really, really psyched that you guys all signed up for this. You know, it's been a while, and I just wanted to basically take the time to walk through with everybody what JSummit is. You know, registration just went live a little over a week ago, and we've already got close to 70 registrations, which is really exciting as we march towards 500 or more, which I think will be, given that initial flurry, it's very exciting. For those of you who have been around the field for a while, will know that this used to be a gathering known as biennial. And it was called that because it happened every other year. But as COVID would have it, we have not gathered as a movement since 2018. And so we believe, and we are being told by you all, that there's a lot of pent-up demand to gather, especially for lay people, because you all have the execs, you guys have cohorts, and you have a lot of gathering that you do on a more regular basis. But I think that for lay people, this is an amazing chance to gather. And we have 3 goals for JSummit. And the number 1 goal is to make people feel larger, feel part of something larger than themselves, to feel a part of a movement, which, because they've been very isolated, they haven't gathered in 6 years. That is really the number 1 goal for this conference. Number 2 and 3 are giving people take-home value, giving them something that they can say, you know what, I went there and I learned this, and I am leaving better and more informed. And the third is to make people want to come back and be able to do that because they have learned, they have gone back to their communities, and they've improved their local communities by having participated in this gathering, as well as in a connection to other people. And the way that we're going to do that is through a couple things. And let me just take a breather to say that I'm going to talk for a bit, and then I really want this to be an interactive conversation, but I'm not sure it can be interactive until I give you all a little bit more information. So we're going to open up on Monday, the 16th at 1 with Elliot Cosgrove, who's the rabbi from Park Avenue Synagogue, really leading off in the way that we will begin and we will end, which is the power of the movement. What can you do as a movement? What can you accomplish in a movement? And why is it important to be a part of a movement? That will morph into the second of our 4 themes, which is partnership. And Mark Shapiro from Milwaukee, who many of you know, is helping us create a series of J Talks, which are like short TED Talks, and they will all be highlighting different partnerships. JCCs with each other, JCCs with their municipality, with their local medical community, with whatever partnerships they have, JCC partnerships with the association, and other partnerships that, and it's not really meant for lay people to say, oh, I want to do that. It's more about inspiring them to see about what you can do in partnership with others that you cannot do on your own, and the benefits of how your community is elevated by engaging in these partnerships, which I'm sure all of you have examples of and do beautifully as right now. After our partnership, so we're basically going to have 3 plenaries. And after those plenaries, we're going to have workshops. And if any of you have been to a biennial, you might remember that there used to be like 20 tracks, and you could go in a million different directions. And sometimes you had a room with 50, and sometimes you had a room with 10. We believe that because our number 1 goal is to really connect people to the movement, that we are not going to have as many breakout sessions. We are going to have no more than 6 after each plenary, so that we can have really substantial full rooms. And we also believe that the way to bond people together is to have them have shared experiences. And the way to have them have shared experiences is to be in a room together. It creates for better dialogue. It creates for a more cohesive gathering. And for the people that are speaking, it also gives them a sense of importance. And we've really tried to hone in on what we think are the very important things. So in the partnership breakouts, we will have maybe people that didn't present in J Talks being able to do deeper dives into what their local JCC partnerships are. That may be an executive presenting, it may be a layperson presenting. And then we are also going to try and lead workshops on things like, what are the nuts and bolts of a partnership? What makes this succeed? Where do I start? And also, how do I fail? What happens if I fail? What are the signs that it's failing, and how to avoid those kinds of things, so that lay people really can understand, and everybody, how this trajectory works. And then after our partnerships conversation ends, we are going to shift Monday night to something that we are very excited about. We are going to do a movement-wide Shabbat dinner on Monday night with One Table. I assume everybody knows who One Table is, but if anybody doesn't, please let me know. I'm happy to explain what they do and who they are. And we're doing some really great things, again, with the mindset of creating community and movement connection to each other. So we haven't quite decided how we're going to seat the tables. It may be random. There may be more thought to it. But we're very excited about that dinner, and we think it's going to be really, really amazing. And highlighting one of the partnerships will be at the beginning of that dinner will be Violins of Hope, which was a partnership with the JCC of Chicago, and a man who refurbished World War II, specifically mostly Holocaust violins, and they are now in a permanent traveling exhibit, as well as they get played. So they will be played to open up the One Table dinner, which we think will be really beautiful and inspiring. And then Tuesday morning, we are currently planning on getting on buses and heading out to camp. The Lake County campus, which is a 40-acre beautiful campus. And the purpose of going to camp is to, yes, see a beautiful camp, but it is also to highlight our continuing themes of JSummit, which are partnership, which you've heard, leadership, which we're about to hear about, and peoplehood. And all of those things will be highlighted by things that they do at that camp. And then, we'll come back from camp, and we will have our leadership plenary, which will be a conversation with Ron Wolfson, who writes about leadership, Gali Cooks, who teaches how to do leadership, and there potentially will be a third person that we're waiting for confirmation on. And so after that conversation, this is what we would call the governance section, except that nobody would even show up for it because it would sound yucky. So really what this is going to be is succession planning and why it's important for your board as well as your execs. Things like taking the shit out of fundraising, the importance and how to effectively plan a board retreat, things along the lines of, in that vein of governance. And then we will Tuesday night be on our own. So you can, but we're not like leaving people on their own. If people want to gather on their own and go out for dinner on their own, that's great. But there could be people that are coming on their own. There could be people that have never been before. And we are going to function as, a gatherer. So somebody reaches out and says, you know what, I'm about to start a capital campaign and I'd really love to have a meal with somebody so I can pick their brains. And somebody says, great, we will put that dinner together. And then before I get into the last day, which is very exciting, I wanted to talk about something that is called J-Town Square. And J-Town Square is something that is going to run through the entire summit. J-Town Square is an intentionally open space that will be populated with high tops, with low tops, with sofas, with tables, with all sorts of seating. And it is meant to be the place where we can gather for both structured and unstructured conversations. So we are going to have board consultants from Evolve and potentially from Leading Edge that people can make appointments with, that if they want to have one-on-one conversations with any kind of board consultants. Potentially One Table will be there to talk about, like, how do I set up Shabbat dinners at my JCC? And we may also, like, one day say, who's interested in working in Elevated, and have a JCC Association staff person there, as well as, oh, you know what, I was sitting next to you in that last breakout and I really want to finish our conversation. Let's go grab a cup of coffee in J-Town Square. So it is really meant to be this place of connectivity in whatever way people want it to be. We have allocated fair amounts of time for people to be in there in between breakouts, in between plenaries and breakouts, after the day, so that people can feel like that is their go-to place where they can always be. And yes, we are definitely trying to encourage people not to go back to their hotel rooms to check email. They can do it there. On Wednesday morning, before we wind up, we're going to open up with a this is going to be our peoplehood conversation, and we've been working with Zach Bodner, who I'm sure you all know created Z3 in Palo Alto. And while we're working with Zach, this is not necessarily going to be the Z3 model. Instead, we are really focusing on how can JCCs be the place at this moment in time? How can we demonstrate peoplehood? How can we engage in these conversations? And I would love to share lots of names with you. I don't actually have them yet because we're still sort of negotiating a little bit. So I'd hate to say something about somebody who's going to be there who's not, but it's promising to be some very exciting names and people that you'll want to be with. And those breakouts will be like, Smadar leading on JCC Global, because that is true peoplehood for the JCCs. Had difficult conversations about Israel, all the kinds of things that would be natural breakouts from a peoplehood conversation. And then Zach will close out. And then the closing plenary of, remember I said we were going to open with movement. We are going to close with movement. We are hoping for one or two things to happen, but until that is said, we don't want to mention names. And I will tell you that we will be both on the website and through email communication. As soon as we have these names, we're not hiding them. We're going to put them out there. We just don't want to do it until we have signed contracts and we know that people are going to show up. So now I'm going to pause and take a breath, and I want to welcome Andrea. Thank you so much for joining us. And Steve, thank you so much. And what we were really hoping is that you all have the information that you need to encourage yourselves, your whatever staff members and lay people to come. And if there's anything that we can, any questions that we can answer, anything that we can do to make that easier for you, that is why we're here. So ask away. Really? Nobody has any questions?
I don't have a question, but I am excited, and my lay leaders are excited. It's been a while, so it's really it's nice. It'll be really good for us locally to have that bonding opportunity. So I'm really excited.
I was just wondering about everyone, like, what besides for you, what other staff are you bringing? And then also regarding lay leadership, it was just gonna be like me in my chair. But like, what other lay leaders, like your executive committee, your whole board, like, what are you guys doing? And are you paying for them, or are they paying for themselves? I just wanted to know.
Question.
That was
So-
my question too, Denise.
Can I jump in for 1 second and say that from the lay perspective, like, all are welcome. And honestly, like, on the last call, I would say that, like, current board chair is super important, but incoming board chair is probably even more important for how effective they can be going forward. And to try and get back this continuity and to be in the lay leadership space, it's really important for those people to we think, to be attending. But I'll let the other execs speak because they can really speak to this better. I can certainly, people that have been around for a while.
I was gonna say, for us, the last one was gonna be the first time that we had any representative, because we're a new JCC. And so nobody from our community has ever been able to attend. So our goal is that our current president, our incoming president, and then we're trying to think of who might be the person, or maybe there's a couple of people that might be the next incoming, so that they have that opportunity and make the most of it. For us as a small JCC, it is our assumption that the lay leaders will pay for it themselves. But the J is paying for me.
I'm happy to say what we're doing. So we've never sent anybody to the biennial before. This will be the first time that we've done something like this. We're also a small JCC with a tight budget. I'm going to be going with our new board chair. She'll be at the very beginning of her 2-year term when we go to Chicago. And the J is covering the costs for the two of us.
I just want to jump in here and say that, and on the last call, there were a couple actually pretty good ideas on this topic. And I think it'll be done all different ways. Some J's, with larger budgets and, allocate this and don't have a problem with it. There were some people, some J's that were willing to split it with their lay leaders so that they're paying some and the lay people are paying some. And then Joel Dinkin from Houston had an interesting idea, which is he thought that, going to sort of your past presidents who may be very staked in lay leadership development was a place to also potentially fundraise for this. So I'm just telling you what I've heard.
And I can speak a little bit, hi everybody, to the registrations that have come in. It's a mixed bag. So we have current chairs, previous chairs, future chairs. Some have extended it to their entire executive committee because who knows when or if they'll step up and step in. Some JCCs are paying for their lay leadership. Others are paying directly, as we've said. There seems to be a real split in that space. And in terms of the staffing, we've heard execs for sure, CEOs and execs. Number twos, if they do a significant amount of work with your lay leadership. And then if you have a development staff person, it seems to be the right space for your development person because they are not only stewarding lay leadership in their fundraising efforts, but probably working closely with your board. And I would say to you, we want this to really feel like a lay leadership experience. And we cannot do this work without our professionals to do the work either. So a good group, a good showing from each JCC is what we desire, but we want it to be relevant for those that you're bringing. If you have a newer staff person that's working with lay leadership and you want them to really understand lay leadership in a different way or the potential of having a strong lay leadership relationship, this might be the place to really engage and invest in them to do that with you. It might also be a great opportunity because you're not bringing a lot of staff to bring one staff person that you really want to spend more time with professionally as an experience for the two of you to do something together, which you wouldn't get at another conference outside of maybe Meetbash. But if it isn't that number two, and maybe it is your development person or an up and coming senior staff person, this could be an opportunity to bring them.
And also, if there are, one of you mentioned like potential other staff, lay people that were up and coming, it is an amazing thing when you bring more than one person, like you do create a bonding experience because you are having, again, this shared experience together. And that Tuesday night dinner becomes kind of really nice. And, it is not just about development, but about the space that you create to develop a stronger bond with each other.
At our annual meeting, every year we give one acknowledgement award to, we give 3 awards, 3 or 4, depending on who's getting them. But we give one that's an emerging leader award. And with that comes a stipend. And it was $500 for the longest time. We finally raised it to $750. The stipend is for the JCC biennial. So I have a bunch of people who have won that award. Some not even as involved anymore, but most are, and they're excited about having that stipend, which is a little incentive. It helps cover the the registration fee. It doesn't cover hotel or airfare, but it's a little something. So it's kind of like Lisa was talking about, it's a little partnership. And like Carrie was talking about, I'll get as many people as I can. And if I get, 5, 6 people, I'm more inclined to take another staff member just to help me manage it. And it's nice for them those lay leaders to get to know my staff member too.
And one thing that we are I don't want to say concerned because that's a strong word, but this has traditionally been sometime between March and May, and now it's September. And I know that we've heard from a bunch of you all that, you don't meet in August and some of you don't meet in July. So the sooner that we can encourage people to register, I feel like it'll be off your plates, they'll be registered and will be done. I think that would actually be helpful because so we're not, you or us are chasing people, in the height of summer, which is not ideal.
And for those that have been around for a while and been to previous biennials, we've gotten some questions about Esther Lay Ritz and if there will be something for them. So I just want you to know, if we do have a collective group of early career lay leadership, we will do something, a workshop, a gathering, a something, so that they can connect to one another. There is no planned at this moment ELR track or a customized experience for that group, but we will pull them together so they can meet each other. And we're hoping to do some follow-up programming with them post-conference. So if you have somebody that's earlier in their lay leadership journey, and you want to make sure there's something for them, please flag it for me that you are registering them, that they're coming, so that we make sure that they have a more special experience.
And we
and
also, Carrie, we can also in J-Town Square have a designated section. If you've been on your board for less than 5 years, this is your space. People can gather and talk to each other about what that's been like.
Definitely. And as Lacey mentioned, first-time lay leaders that are coming and first-time directors that are coming, we will designate you in some way. There will be some sort of sticker or something or other that shows that, and we will make sure that we connect you with others so that you know who can help show the ropes. Maybe there's a partnership, a mentorship of something. So we'll make sure that they feel seen in a different way as a first-time experience. And it's a first-time experience for everyone. I just want to note that it's the first time we're doing a JSummit. So everyone's new. And if that makes people more comfortable in coming, that no one's ever been to a JSummit before, because I've heard from a few lay people that said, like, I don't know what to expect and I don't know anyone outside of my J. It's like, we're JCC people. It's going to be the warmest, friendliest environment ever. You'll be fine. But you can reassure them of that.
And also something I forgot to say, first of all, welcome, Patty. We're very glad that you're here. Thank you. Remember, like, we haven't gathered in 6 years, but for maybe 70 to 80% of the people coming anyway, they will have never been to a biennial because the entire movement has turned over, both lay and professional, in the last 6 years. So, it's, there have been some questions from people about the way we used to do it and things like that. And I think that we have to remember that there's perilously few of us left that have been to years and years of biennials.
Is there a mix of non-Jewish and Jewish that come to this? I mean, because I have a lot of board members that are not Jewish.
Steph, I can't speak to statistics yet, just because we don't have that information. We haven't gathered it, but I would imagine yes, because that's the nature and makeup of many of our J's. So I'd imagine if there's representative lay leadership and professionals also, we know we don't have 50% of the movement in terms of professionals are not Jewish, close to 50%. So we know that there'll be representation there. And like everything we do, it's infused and amplified by Jewish life, but it's not necessarily religious in anything that we do. Our Shabbat dinner, our one table Shabbat dinner will be model and mock. It's a Monday night, so it's not Shabbat in the same way. And just like our JCCs, our town squares, and open and welcoming to everyone, this experience will feel that way also.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that's questioned about programming that I've mentioned, or anything that they think is, missing, or something that sounds great, or,
I think it all sounds great because I've never been and I'm very excited. So thank you.
Yay. We're very glad you're coming.
But I'm struggling with the covering the cost too, because actually the JCC I came from, all board members paid for themselves, and here we don't even have a board fund that the board doesn't contribute. We don't have an annual campaign. There's no board fund. And so getting them to understand their fiscal responsibilities towards being a board member has been a little bit challenging. So I told them I was doing this call so I could come back and help make a decision as to how we would fund whoever we decide to take. So this has been helpful.
And Annie, I don't know what community you're from, but I also think it's helpful if you look to Federation, because people go to GA all the time. People go to Line of Judah conference all the time. People go to URJ conferences all the time. So I don't know if you have crossover in your community, but that's also helpful.
Oh, that's a great, thank you. I'm in Charlotte, and the Federation here does a lot. They participate in a lot, and I'm fairly certain that they do not cover the costs of their lay leadership attending. But I will check. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they want to say or question? You guys feel armed to go recruit the world now? All right, well, I'm going to give you back your time. Thank you so much for what you have given to us today. We really appreciate it. We're very excited about JSummit. We will continue to keep you all in the loop as we make decisions and have firmer answers about names of people that are going to be there. And we just look forward to sharing this experience with all of you, because you all will help make it what it will be.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
It was
Thanks
good
a lot.
seeing you. Great
Yeah.
seeing you.
Good seeing everyone. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm
Thanks,
excited.
everyone.
I guess I don't